Okay, folks, let's do a quick review on this 6.86 inch screen by Hansshow. Now, this is a screen that hooks up to the steering wheel right in front of you, and you can see it right through the steering wheel as you drive, as you can see here. Now, we'll try to make this as quick as possible. I don't know how quick it's going to be because I've got some pros and cons, and in no particular order, I'm going to start listing out things that I've noticed in the past 3 weeks. I've been using this for about 3 weeks now and giving it a good, honest shot. And keep in mind, this is going to be a little biased only because I've been using the 9-inch screen for about a year now. So this is going to be in comparison to the 9-inch screen, not as just a regular person that never had a center screen before for the first time. To have a screen in front of you, that's all subjective. That depends on what you want to do and how you feel about the minimalistic look in a Tesla. And if the Tesla main screen is enough for you and you say you don't want another screen and you like the clean dash in front of you, then any kind of center screen, whether it's this 6.86 inch screen or the 9-inch or the 10-inch, regardless, those won't be for you. So this is just, I'm going to compare it. I'm going to give my pros and cons, but keep in mind it's being compared to the 9-inch screens that I've been using for the last year or so. So first off, like I said, in no particular order, okay, let's start first of all. This gives a lot more airflow. With it being only 6.8 inches in size, it's going to be a lot smaller than the 9-inch screen and the 10-inch screen, obviously. So it's not going to block as much airflow. Now, if you're the type of person that likes airflow right in your face, then these center screens probably aren't going to be for you because they are actually going to block the air. This one is a lot smaller. I found that the airflow does come in your face a little bit more, not obviously as much as if you didn't have anything there to begin with, but there is a difference between that and the 9-inch screen. It allows a little more airflow than the other one, which by physics, that makes total sense. So this next viewpoint is subjective. I wear glasses, I'm old, so now my eyesight's not as good as it used to be. So I find the font on this, and it's also could be because it's smaller. I mean, it all only makes sense that it's smaller. The font on this is too small to read. If I didn't have glasses, there's no way in hell that I'd be able to read any of the font, the numbers, or the lettering on this. I would just see blurry icons. So the font could be a little larger. If there was something in the settings to increase the font size that doesn't upset the layout and the design too much, that would be better. The whole way this works, because it isn't a touchscreen, and I think that's one of the main things I miss about this compared to the 9-inch screen. The 9-inch screen is a touchscreen. It's a lot easier to navigate around things and change things, and including settings and everything. In this one, to get into the settings, you have to use, or to move anything around, you have to use the scroll wheels on the steering wheel. And the problem with that is the scroll wheels on the steering wheel still work for what Tesla designed the scroll wheel functionality to do. So now when you're doing something on the scroll wheel, the input is the same as what it would be for the Tesla main UI, because that's what it's fully intended for. It doesn't defeat that, which is a good thing. You don't want a third-party device, turning off your main functionality on the car, but it also does something different on a third-party device. So you're really conflicting input commands when you're using the scroll wheel, and it's very cumbersome. Like, to go through the settings, you have to press left on the scroll wheel to get into the settings, and once you're in the settings, you have to use the up and down arrows for the scroll wheels, and it's hard to see because it lights it up in orange. It's very hard and very cumbersome. So this is another gripe of mine with the day mode. When the screen is white, you can have it automatic, where when the main screen goes into night mode, the screen does too. But my one gripe about this is, if you compare it to the screen, the main screen, which is white, it's a different type of white balance. There's 3 different, and you can see it here. If I do this, yeah, I can pull up, and you can see there's 3 different layouts you can use. That one, that one's like a blue tinge, and that one. This one is the one I found, that's one I stick to. This one is the one I found that is the closest to the screen, to the main screen white balance, but it isn't exactly the same. So I wish that they would do the interface a little better to match it to the to the main screen. In the 9-inch and the 10-inch screen, the daytime screen with the white background does a much better job of matching to the main screen. This one doesn't. That's why when I do it, I keep it in night mode, most of the time, even in the daytime, which I wouldn't usually do it, but in night mode, I find it's a lot easier to read, and you don't have that offset white balance in the contrast to the main screen. Another thing I've noticed, and maybe it's because it's the first iteration of this and the first design, is the bezel. The bezel around the side of this unit is large. They could have utilized a lot more of the screen in the same form factor, but they've got some large bezels, and that could just be a design constriction that they couldn't get around. The one good thing about this, and I haven't tried it because it hasn't worked for me so far, and maybe because the unit is so new, there's nothing to update, but I like the fact that it has over-the-air updates, and like I said, nothing's worked for me so far, but good to know that it has it, that this can improve over time. What I also find good is when you're in autopilot, there's a nice blue strip that goes above the screen. Especially, you notice it a lot. You don't notice it too much in the daytime screens, but in the night screens you see it pretty good. What I like about it is when you get the nag to hold the steering wheel on the main screen and the main screen turns blue, it actually flashes on this also, and it's got a nice animation of when you're driving. You can see the little dotted lines in the middle of where your car icon is, as opposed to when you're stopped. When you start driving and when the blue nag comes on, that whole roadway, the dotted lines, they all start to flash white and blue alternatively, which is pretty good to see. It is a good reminder. Another good feature is when you're making lane change, it lights up red if there's a car beside you and it doesn't allow you to, and it advises you not to. The screen on the left-hand side, if you're making a left-hand lane change or a right-hand lane change on the right-hand side, it corresponds to the right-hand side. As you're driving, if you go to make lane change, it flashes red. The other 9-inch screen doesn't do that. I don't know about the 10-inch, but the 9-inch screen doesn't do that. It's a good feature to have on this, and I like how it shows up. So yeah, after using this for a good 3 weeks, I like it. I think it's a good introductory screen. If someone is looking for a screen but doesn't need Apple CarPlay, they don't need the extension of their phone, they just need the extension of the information that's on the main screen right in front of them. If you don't need that and you're fine with not having a touchscreen, and once you set this, the truth of it is, once you set the settings, like I said earlier in the video, the settings are cumbersome, but the truth is, once you set the settings at the beginning, you very rarely have to go back and change the settings again. So it's good to know that once you have it set, it's good to go, and you're rarely going to have to go back and change any settings. So if you can get past that at the initial startup or when you first install this, then you should be fine. But like I said, if you like the touch screen and you like Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, then I would maybe suggest upgrading to the 9-inch or the 10-inch. And there's a video that I did for the 9-inch. You can see it. I'll just put it in the information card above. But this is a good introductory screen. Like I said, if you just want to get started and you don't want something big in front of your face that doesn't restrict airflow too much, this will, but not as much, then yes, the 6.8-inch screen is good for you. And I've got a discount code if you're ready to buy. I'll put it down in the description below, or I'll just flash it on the screen. Use that, you'll save 15%. One of the coolest things, and what I think is one of the biggest features of this compared to the 9-inch screen that is a big plus, is if you got a new Model 3 or Model Y that doesn't have the ultrasonic sensors, those are those parking sensors in the front and the back bumpers of your car, those little round circles. If you don't have any of those ultrasonic sensors, so if your car is one of the newer cars from 2023 and I think late 2022, don't quote me on that, but sometime is when Tesla started taking them out. If your car doesn't have that, it is, when you go to park in parking lots, it uses the cameras to do it. And there's tons of videos showing that it works, but it's never the greatest and it's not the most reliable. The beauty with this is if you install the front-facing camera right on the bumper, which is very, very easy to install, like I showed you in the instructions, you pull it up on the screen here. Now you have a front-facing camera when you're driving, which it's a novelty. It's really, if anything else, distracting while you drive. Some people may want to keep it on. But I think it's distracting when you drive. But what it's great for is when you're parking in parking lots, when you're driving into the parking space and not backing up, this is great to see where the curbs are, so you don't rip off the front bumper like many people, especially on the Model 3s, because it does have a lower stance. So when you're pulling into a parking spot here, as you can see where the curb is. You're pulling in, and right there is probably a good place to stop. And if you get out of the car, you can see it's very accurate. Just using the camera, this is visual confirmation. You're not relying on sensors. You're not relying on cameras to act like sensors. This is actual line of sight. You can actually see it with a real camera. Oh, and by the way, this camera has no lag. It's pretty instantaneous. So a good thing about this front-facing camera is now that I'm backing in, I'm parallel parking, and I want to see how close I am to the curb in front of me. I can just activate the camera, and I can see, yes, the curb is right here, so I'm good. I'm not blocking that driveway that's in front of me. So that's a good reason for it. Okay, folks, so there you have it. That is the 6.86-inch screen that hooks right onto the steering wheel column. A very easy installation with a little bit of work, and just follow the instructions. And you can get it at Hansshow right now. Just use my discount code to get a little discount. And I'll leave a link to where you can get it directly right in the description below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.